have been working with data, Azure Data Factory is very similar to what is called an SSIS, previously the on-premise solution, which is called SQL Server Integration Services. So as the name indicates, it is used for data integration. So it is a cloud-based ETL and data integration service. So by ETL, what I mean is extract, transform, and load. So we extract the data from the sources, and if we want to transform, do some transformation, we do the transformation, and then we load it into the destination table. So that Azure Data Factory is a cloud-based one, whereas SSIS is a on-premise one, and it is a ETL and data integration service. You can think of that as a software as a service, and that will help you to create data-driven workflows. And these data-driven workflows help you to orchestrate data movement and also transform data at scale. So what is this data-driven workflows? They are also known as pipelines. So this is just theory that I'm talking to you, but I'll show you when I show you the demo. So, okay, by using Data Factory, you can recognize raw data into some meaningful data stores and data lakes, and this will allow you to make better business decisions. So how does ADF, in short, we call it ADF, Azure Data Factory. How does ADF help with data analytics? So by using the ADF, you can build complex ETL processes, and these processes can transform data visually by either using data flows or compute services such as you have a lot of services like Azure HD Insight, Hadoop, these days Databricks, SQL databases, and things like that. And once that is done, then you can publish this transformed data to data stores for business intelligence apps to consume. Like you can plug in Power BI. So in the graphic that you are seeing here, what is happening here? The data sources can be either on premises, on the on premises in the company that you are working for, or it can be external data, which can be from what did you call, the web, or Excel file, or cloud, any cloud data. So what we do is we ingest those, so from different data sources, and that ingested data can be stored in a storage blob. The orchestration is done either using the ingesting as a storage blob, or you can use Azure Synapse for data storage. And both this orchestration is done in the Data Factory. Both this is done in the Data Factory. So now, and then on top of this, analysis and visualization can be done using the Azure Analysis Services, as well as Power BI. Power BI can be used for data visualization. So now let's get to my PowerPoint is not, yeah. So how does ADF work? So first let's look at the connect and collect. So there are 4 types of activities that happen in the Azure Data Factory. The first one is connect and collect, followed by transform and enrich, and continuous integration and delivery, which is often called CI/CD. And then you publish, and then once you publish, it's not enough, right? So you need to do some kind of monitoring. So that is monitoring. So these are the four components of ADF based on how it works. So what is meant by connect and collect? So the first part of the process is to usually what we do is we collect data from the required data from the appropriate data sources. and these can be located like how we have seen in the previous diagram. It can be either on-premise or cloud, and also they can be either structured, the data can be structured or unstructured or semi-structured. Okay, now with Azure Data Factory, you can use, there is something called copy activity, which we are going to see today. The copy activity is the one that is used to move data from the source to what is called a destination. So what do we do in that? So we read the data from the data source, and then if we need to perform any transformations or compression or column mapping or serialization, whatever, we do that, and then we write the data into the destination. So today what we are going to do is we are going to read the data from a Excel file and then um, write the data into Azure SQL. Now, the next component is transform and enrich. So after you have successfully copied the data into the let's say Azure SQL, then if you feel like you need to do some transformations, for example, the date format in the source is in text, but we want to change it to a date format, date data type. So that all those transformations can be done. That is in the transform and um, that is in the transform and enrich. Now, the next component is continuous integration and delivery. So what is continuous integration? Continuous integration means automatically testing each change made to your code base as soon as possible. And then continuous delivery is after testing, you push the data, push the changes uh, into the database, into the staging or production system. So that is CI/CD. So Azure Data Factory supports the CI/CD, so that it enables you to develop and deliver your ETL processes incrementally before you publish. So that is the CI/CD component. That is how it works. And then finally, you can monitor. So you can, for monitoring, you can have after you successfully build your data integration pipeline, then it is important to monitor, right? So you can either use build your own monitoring systems, or you can use the Azure monitor, which is already there, which is provided as part of the Azure solution. So next one is, let's see what the Azure Data Factory components are. So here, what you can see is there are pipelines, activities, data sets, and link services, which you can see, and there is data flows, and also there is integration runtime. I'll show you what it means when we get into the demo. But what is a pipeline? A pipeline is a logical group of activities, so that's why we can see different activities, and there is a for loop as well. So it's just a group of activity. And what is activity? A single process. So a single processing step in a pipeline. So for example, Azure ADF supports three types of activities: data movement, data transformation, and data loading. Okay, so data sets is nothing but data stores. So for example, if you have an Excel file, you are storing that into a blob storage, that can be a data set. Otherwise, a table in a SQL Server database, that can be a data set. So those kind of things. And data flows is what enables the data engineers to develop data transformation logic, and you don't need to write complex code in that. So low code people can do the data flows. So these are the components, and these components work together to provide a complete end-to-end platform for data engineers to move data from one place to another. So here in the diagram, what you can see is you can set triggers on demand or schedule date or on a schedule basis based on your needs, and the trigger is associated with a pipeline. And the pipeline, what does the pipeline contains? Pipeline contains a lot of activities, and these are connected through link services. We will see what the link service is and everything. The link services connects to either on so data and also Azure services. We won't see on-prem today. We will just see everything cloud. And then finally, you monitor the monitor all of your pipeline, whether your pipeline is running properly or is it errored, and if it is errored, why errors, all those things. So this gives you just a gist of what the ADF components are. Now you might be having a question of when should I use ADF? So if you evaluate these four questions, like requirements for data integration, coding resources, so support for multiple data sources, serverless infrastructure. So when you ask yourself what these four mean is, when you have to have a decision criteria whether to use ADF or not. So for example, do you ask this question in your project: do you need data integration at all? If yes, then yeah, you can use ADF. And do you have the coding resources needed? So not everybody that works with data is experienced with in coding, right? So you might prefer, some of them might prefer a graphical user interface rather than coding. So then if that is the answer, then yes, you can use ADF. And do you need to work with multiple data sources? Most of the organizations, I think the raw data is in various systems, right? So you need to ingest them. So if that is the case, then the answer is yes. And another question that you can ask is, can you create, manage, and maintain separate data integration components? If you want to maintain those kind of things, then without any managed service for data analytics, enterprises need to use they can use custom built, but Azure is providing the Azure Monitor to do everything what we needed, and also at no infrastructure cost, like extra infrastructure cost, and also the engineers that maintain those. So what in summary is, consider Azure Data Factory when you meet one or more of these criteria which we discussed. So when they lack skills to code, to perform data analytics tasks, you can use it. And you have multiple data sources, then you can use that. And also you want to take advantage of a fully managed cloud-based solution, then you can use Azure Data Factory. Okay, so now I think that's all for my presentation. Now I'm going to share my screen again to get to the portal. Okay, let's so how do you get to Azure Azure Data Factory is screen. Okay, I think that's the screen. Can you all see? I am in what is called a portal.azure.com. This is the Azure portal. And if you are logging in for the first time, you will be asked to sign in with your account. Most of the time it asks for work or school account. So I have signed in with my MVP account, and now I want to create a Azure Data Factory pipeline. So for that, what we'll do is, what you need to remember, just one thing here. For any resource, anything that should be created in Azure, it is called a resource. So first thing what we do is we'll just create a resource. And what is the resource that we are creating? It's called Data Factory, right? So because that's what we have learned. So now I will just type Data Factory and then search for it. Click on that, and so it goes to the marketplace, searches, and then gets you what's happening? Why is it so slow? Yeah, see, there is a Data Factory resource. So I'm just clicking on that, and Okay, so this is the resource and it is just plain data factory. I'm just going to create. Click on create. And once I click on create, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tabs are there. So I'm just going to give the basics. So first you need to choose a subscription. You need to have a subscription to create a resource. So this is my default subscription and I have only one subscription. And now I'm going to create a new resource. So the new resource can be, I'll create new, I'll give a name. Let's say MC for you demo. And this, because this is, I'm creating a resource group. Where is it? MC for you demo. And I'm going to suffix that as RG because I'm creating a resource group, so that when I look at the resources, I will know that that's an RG and that's a resource group. And I'm going to give an instance name, MC for you demo inst for you demo inst. Okay. Now my region is, because I'm in New Zealand, my region will be Australia East. So I have chosen that. If you are in India, you have to choose something closer to you, to your region. So now I'll keep all these same. So if we get into, if we go next here, Git configuration, I'm just going to keep all the defaults. So connect via a public endpoint, but usually that is not recommended. But because this is just a demo, I'm just putting that as a public endpoint. And if you go to advanced, if you want to encrypt, then you can do that, but I'm not doing it. Any tags, if you want to add, you can add, and then review and create. When you click on review and create, it is just giving you what your configuration is. Just review that, and then now I'm happy with that, and then I can just create. Now, once I created that, so it just takes a couple of seconds. See, now this deployment succeeded. So here also your deployment is complete. So once the deployment is complete, I'm just going to say go to resource. So now our data factory is created, and and then when you hit go to resource, so we are in the data factory resource. And now here is what we can see that as a Azure Data Factory Studio. So this is where we create all the pipelines, activities, all the components that we saw in the PowerPoint slide. So what I'll do is I'll just launch the studio, Azure Data Factory Studio. So I'll just launch it. And once I launch it, it comes with a interface. Okay, so now it's going to ask you whether to set up a code repository. I'm going to ignore that because I don't want to, for this demo, I don't want to create any code repositories. For CI/CD, yes, I can create, but I'm not creating a CI/CD today. So now it says new. So what can, if we click on the new, you can create a pipeline, you can create a Power Query, you can create a data flow, you can create a data set. This sounds familiar, right? Except Power Query, you have heard of pipeline, you have heard of data flow, you have heard of data set. What I'll do is I'll just create a pipeline. And what is a pipeline? It's a set of activities, right? So once I hit pipelines, this is what you are, this is the interface that you get. Now first I will just name that to make sense for me. So MC for you demo pipeline. I'll just say pipe. Okay. Now here, see, this is where the pipeline is going to be created. So this is the pipeline. Okay. And then you can, if you want to use the change data capture, which is the history, retaining the history, you can use that. And this is in preview. This has been added um, very recently. And then you can create data sets, you can create data flows, and also you can create Power Query. So these are the components of, these are the resources of the data factory. And once you create the pipeline, now this area is where your workspace area. So now what we are going to do is we are going to take a AdventureWorks sample database, sorry, sample Excel file, and then we will import one of the sheet into a SQL file. So for that, what we need to do is there is something called a group called move and transform activities. So I'll just open that, and there is copy data. So what we are doing, we are essentially doing a copy data. So copy from Excel to a SQL database. Okay. So then now I'll just copy data. I'll just drag that. And now with this panel, I'm finished. So I'm just going to minimize that so that we know what we are doing. Now, if we select the copy data, I'm just going to rename this one. Okay, let's yeah, here I'm just going to rename that one, copy data from Excel to SQL table. That is what I'm doing. And this, if you want to write a description, you can write a description. I'm just copying and pasting this one. Okay, now a copy data has these tabs. So what essentially it does is it takes the data from the source and then puts into destination. And here the destination is called, somebody is waiting in the lobby. Give me a minute. Okay, when you put the so the source is called source here, and then the destination is called sink. So let's first start with the source. So here, source data set. So this is the data set. Okay. So now I have already created a data set which I can use maybe, but let's try and see whether I can. No, I can't see that. So because I didn't publish maybe. Okay. So let's try and create a new data set. And my data set is in a blob storage. So I'm just going to create a new. When I say new, it says new data set dialog box comes, window comes. And then from here, I am going to choose Azure Blob Storage because that is where my Excel sheet is there. So I'm going to choose that and then continue. And within the Azure Blob Storage, I have Excel file. So I'm just going to choose that and then continue. And then I'm going to rename that to AdventureWorks or something like that, because that is the. Now we are in the process of creating a data set. So where is the data set? Data set is in the Azure Blob Storage. So, and then we are in the Azure Data Factory. So to connect these two, we need something called a link service, which we have already seen in the PowerPoint slide that I have shared you. So let's see whether there is a link service. There is no. So I'll start creating a link service. So what is the link service doing? It's going to connect to the Azure Blob Storage, and we also saw something like a runtime. So it is going to use this runtime and then connects to the Azure Blob Storage. So I'm going to keep those as it is. Maybe change the name to ADV or something so that. Okay, now you can connect method. You can say from Azure subscription, because where is my data? Uh, Maybe I'll show you where the data is. Okay, from here I'll show you. My data is in the same Azure subscription that I have used. So my Azure subscription I'm going to choose, and because I already have the storage name, and the storage name is called data to ACC. Okay. So because I connected to the Azure subscription, it is not asking me for a key. So I can test the connection. Yeah, test the connection. And let's see whether, yeah, connection is successful. So now I can just say create. Now what is it creating? It's creating a link service. So once it creates the link service, so successfully created. Now, this is bothering me. Okay. Yeah, so now it still did not create the data set. So now, okay, now the link service is created, but we have to give the path to see the Excel file. So what we'll do is we'll just go to the browser, and then in the browser, this is what we specified, right? So this is the root folder. So I want to go to the root folder and see what is there in the, what files are there. So this is the AdventureWorks sales file is what I want to connect to. So I'll just connect to that and then say okay. So now here the path came, the name came, because earlier it was not there. Now it's trying to find the sheet names. So let's see whether it finds the sheet names or whether it gives an error. Let's see. And I know that first row as is the header, so I can just say that it's the header, but it's still loading. Yeah, now none came, so we can choose the sheet name. There are a lot of sheets in the spreadsheet, so I want to maybe demonstrate the sales order data. So I'm going to choose that and then click OK. Now, once I click OK, now it is creating the data set. So to create the data set, what does it need? It needs a link service, and that link service uses a integration runtime to connect to the source. So now it's creating. Once it, any questions while it's creating? Okay, so now it has created, and I'll just close this one so that you can see properly. I hope everyone can see properly. Okay, so now here, this source. So this is the data set that we have created, and this is the preview data. So you can see what is in there. So let's try hit the preview data and see what is in there. If you have any questions, maybe you can type in the chat. I'm not sure whether there is a chat. I'm just waiting for the preview data. It's taking time. Okay, so the preview is appearing. Can you all see the preview? I'm not sure with, but anyway, it is having 4 columns: channel, sales order line key, sales order line. Okay, so now let's close the preview, and that is enough for enough configuration for source. Next one is sync. Now sync also I'll just try and see whether there is anything. There is nothing. But what is sync? Sync is the destination, and destination is a regime SQL. So before we, maybe I'll show you uh, in here what is there in my this thing. Okay. Uh, if I go home, and then if I go to my SQL database, which is called AdventureWorks, hopefully I can connect to it. Okay, so there is something called query editor, and this is the AdventureWorks is the SQL database. So I'm just going to use the query editor, and I'm going to use the SQL Server authentication, and I'm going to give the password. Hopefully that is correct. Fingers crossed. Yeah, okay. So now you can see what tables are there. So let's see what are the tables. Build version, customer. Let's try and see whether I can select top 10 star from sales order detail. Okay, let's run this one and see what is there. Okay, this has something. So there is no table which has um, okay, which has this one. So let's create a table within this. Okay, so create. Oh, okay, create. Is it not typing? Okay, create table. Table name M for demo sales order. Sales order table name, and we have those 4 columns, right? So let me create the table. Okay, so channel is everything. I'll take it as text. Yeah, everything is text except order key. Okay, so varchar 50, comma, sales line key, I'll just say integer, and sales order is varchar 50, comma, here also it's comma, and sales order line is again varchar maybe 10, close the bracket, and I'm just closing it. So I will run this part. Fail to execute, incorrect syntax. Okay, which one is okay? Sorry. Okay, I'm running that. So that, yeah, okay. So now let's see whether there is a table. So how do we do that? Let's say Control C, select star from, and then run this one. So there is nothing, no rows. We just created the table. Okay. So now what we'll do is, okay. So now we have created the. Have we created? No. Okay. Now we will create a new data set for so that we are defining that data set as the SQL Server table. Okay. So now we are going to create new. Previously, because our Excel file is in blob storage, we chose the blob storage. Now, because it is in Azure SQL, I am going to choose as Azure SQL database. So this is the one, and then continue. And once I say that, then what happens is you need to select the link server. Again, there is a new link server as the database one. And same process follows. Connect using the auto resolving integration runtime. You don't have to create a new integration runtime because this is the default that is used for cloud services. If you had a what do you call, if you had an on-prem one, then it will be you need to create another one, but because we don't have on-prem sources, then we don't need. Now SQL Server name is I have only one SQL Server, which is called ASQL demo. And database name, I'll choose AdventureWorks because that's where my my table is. And username, and also password, and then there should be somewhere to test connection. Yeah, test connection. Let's see. If everything is okay, then it should be fine. Otherwise, yeah, connection is successful. So I can create the link service now and then choose the table, because once this is successful, this comes up. Now it's loading the tables. Yeah, now it's finished. So now we can choose the table that we have created just now. Where did we create? Oh my God, where did we create? Sales order, right? We gave it a sales order. Create in master. Sorry. Yeah, this one, sorry. Yeah, that one. And then I'm just going to click OK. It takes, yeah, now after creating that, so now we have got the data from the source and we have mapped the sink. Sink means destination as well. And actually we created the data, created the table. We can also use auto create table, but because we have already done that, we don't need to do that. And you can also write a pre-copy script. So for example, if you want to load the data into the table fresh, then you can have a pre-copy script like truncate table or delete from that table, so that each time you copy the data, it deletes everything and then copies fresh. I'm not going to do that now. So that is sync. Now next thing that we need to do is we need to map the columns between the source and the destination. So for that, what we do is go to the mapping tab and then import schemas. So what it does is it imports schemas, and you after it imports schemas, you get two columns. One shows the source schemas, and the other one shows the sync schemas. So I'm just waiting for it to get the schemas. Any questions so far? So it's still loading and we have 15 more minutes. Okay, yeah, so that's good. So now because we have given the same names, it is already mapping to the same thing. So each one is mapping. This is the source, this side is the source, and that side is the destination. So I feel that I'm okay with the mapping. So then what we can do is we can test it. So for that, I'm just copying I'm hitting on the copy data, and then if we want to test, we can just do debug. You might face a few errors. Let's see if there will be any errors. So what it is doing is it is running see, there is something, it's queued, status is queued. I'll just put this one also aside so that we can watch what is happening. Yeah, duration, and it has failed. So let's see what the error is. So error code, I just clicked on the button there. SQL failed. Please contact common hybrid delivery exception. Oh my God, this cannot connect to SQL database. SQL admin, check the link server configuration is correct and make sure okay, so this one, the IP address is not allowed to access the server. So for that, what you need to do is just copy the IP address and okay, so copy the IP address, and then if you go into the SQL screen and go to overview, yeah, you can cancel. I'll just save that query, save query. Okay, I saved it. Now I'll go to the SQL. Okay. And once we go to the overview, there is something called set server firewall. So what I'll do is I'll just go there, set server firewall, and then because I copied the IP address, because what is happening is at this stage it's not allowing my add your client. See, it says add your client, so you can, I think my client is showing different. Anyway, I'll just add my client and also add firewall rule. Click on add firewall rule and paste the IP address that I have just copied into rule name, start IP and end IP, and then click OK, and then I will save it. Usually it takes a bit of time, but anyway, now let's go back into this and then run it. So let's go back to this again and then run it. What's happening? Did it run? No. Looks like it's not running. Okay, mapping is correct. Everything is correct. Okay, let's debug and run. Okay, there is something wrong. What is it? Okay, it's queued. And let me close this one so that I can see everything. Let's refresh. Okay, again, something failed. SQL failed, Windows.NET database, link server configuration. Okay, again, it's not allowing to enable access. Use the Windows Azure Management Portal or run SP set firewall rule. We have done that. Maybe it takes a bit of a time um, to load the data because I just now set the firewall rule. Let's give a couple of minutes and then rerun again. So that is basically how you configure the copy data activity. Let's look at the other scenarios where we'll come back and run this one again. So here you have clicked on the pipeline. You have created this pipeline and then you have created two data sets, right? So these two data sets are one is connecting to the SQL server, the other is connecting to the Excel file. And similarly, you can create data flows. You can have many copy activities here, and then you can also link. So for example, if you want to run some copy task first before you want to run another copy task, so the way you do it is you have the one that you want to run in the first, and then followed by you can connect. On success you can run this one, run the next one, or on failure you can add something. So you can do some data flow like a uh, flow diagram. So you can do that um, and then use the resources like that. So and then once you do everything, you need to do what is called a publish all. So if I publish all, then all this will be published, and then you can others can access these pipelines. So I want to publish these three. So I'm publishing two datasets and one pipeline. So if I publish, if I come back again, or if somebody else logs into this Azure Data Factory and accesses this Azure Data Factory, they can also see what the pipeline contains. And then if multiple developers are building pipelines, then they can see what is built and uh, carry on from there. So that is the brief demo. Let's try again. Let's see why this is, what is happening with this one. What's happening? Fresh. Okay. Usually with errors, I usually copy them and then data exception. Up to 5 minutes, yeah. So we need to wait 5 minutes. See, it says it may take up to 5 minutes to make this change to take effect. So we need to wait 5 minutes. So meanwhile, I can answer some questions. So feel free to ask me questions if you have any.
So, participants, you are on unmute. You can ask the questions. Participants, you can unmute yourself and you can ask the questions.
I think somebody is trying to ask, but we are not able to hear them.
Indira,
Sorry, I couldn't. Yeah, tell me.
it was a great session. Thanks for this. Yeah, I do have a small idea about the ADF, doing the pipelines and all.
Yeah.
The only thing is, I have something in my mind that about the integration runtime. So every time for the pipeline, for the link service and all, we need to create a integration runtime or
No. Okay. So, okay, let's go to. I didn't show you these components, right? Very good question, Harish. So here, if we go into author, you get these, right? So you get the pipelines and data sets and data flows and Power Query. And if you go to monitor, so this is where you get the integration runtime. So if we go in, you can see what pipeline runs are, how many, what have been errored and things like that here. Here, if you go to integration runtimes, there is one already default integration runtime that is already created for you. This you can use for all cloud sources. So because my sources both are cloud, Azure SQL is cloud, Azure blob storage is cloud. But if you are trying to run something from an on-premise database, so for example, if you have an on-premise what do you call the SQL server, and you have data in that, so for that you need to create a new um, integration runtime, so that it connects to the maybe a gateway or something like that to connect to the on-premise data. So that's where you need to create a integration runtime. But when you want to create links, create data sets, then you have to create link services. And once you create link service, so for example, if you create one link service for one blob storage, you can use the same thing, but in the path you can change the Excel files. So you don't need to create the link services all the time. Only one link service for one blob storage and one link service for one SQL server database. I hope that answered your question.
yeah, got you. Thank you for this. It was
No
very
worries.
great
Yeah.
session, by the way.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Yeah. Any other questions? Meanwhile, I'll just go back and try again. Copy activity, debug.
I think you need to add the IP address with an
Yeah,
incremental
I
of
have already
one.
done that. Yeah, I have already
This
done
it
that.
will change actually during the every run. So maybe one incremental, the start and the increment of one or two in the end, the IP address will help you to.
Okay, let's check that. I haven't observed that. Okay, let's check. Did it change? 24. 20, 42 to 24. Let's try. No, it's the same. Oh, 124. Okay. Okay, let me add again. So you mean to say 42 to maybe 240? Let's try that. And then save it again. Maybe it might take again 5 minutes, but let's try. Successfully updated server firewall rules. Okay. Okay, so let's try again. One last time. Okay, still the same. Don't know why. In progress. Looks like it is copying now. Hopefully it didn't fail. Looks like it's copying. Let's see. Any other questions? Still it is failed, but maybe it's something invalid column length. So now, which one is invalid column length? Okay, let's see which one is invalid column length. Oh, sales order line is might be invalid column length. So how I'm going to do is I am going to SQL. Okay, it's in AdventureWorks. You all can see my screen, right? Okay, so I'll go to query editor and then alter the length. Query. Alter table. This one. Alter column. No, modify column, I think. Alter table. Anyone help me with the syntax, please? Add column is there. Column. Alter column. Okay, let's try. Alter table, alter column. Alter column. What's the name? Sales. No, not sales. Okay, sales order line, right? Oh God, something happened. Can you still see my screen? Because I'm not able to see my screen.
Your screen is not visible.
Not visible? Yes, visible or not?
Yeah, now it is visible.
Okay, now it is visible. Okay. What I want to say is, yeah, okay. dot now sales. What's the name of the sales order line? Okay, sales order line. Varchar, I'll just say 100. Run. Alter table. Modify. Hmm. Otherwise, I can try this. Just give me a minute.
So in the same link, you can access the recorded session also. Okay, thank you, Indra. Have a good day.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for